So I remember there was a board meeting in which she said the FBI was on you. And
sick of it. Trustee House, you've been picked up by the feds, right? The FBI got you at the U.S. Bank building, right? They came and seized your computer and everything, right? But you won't tell the people that. Y'all don't tell the people nothing, but yet y'all point the finger. Don't get me started.
And they had raided your house and took your computer and tell the truth. What's up with that? Did that happen? Are you under FBI surveillance? So recently, you guys have had the special meeting. Now, I've dealt with a lot of corporations before with special meetings where you have members or trustees or whatever. They have a special meeting where the top person is not calling a meeting appropriately. There's usually a mechanism for a special meeting. But she claims that your meetings are illegal meetings that violate state law. Here she goes.
When they hit our apartment district,
When you say it's a legal meeting, why are you calling it a legal meeting?
Because they cannot go and have a quorum. That's the open meeting violation of 4 people. They do that every time. So now they're trying to have their own separate government. When we have board meetings, it's the first of every month.
Yeah, first of all, official board meetings have to be posted.
Correct.
Have you filed any complaints with the state attorney general?
Yes.
Saying they are meeting illegally?
Yes, so we working on that, meaning we posted it and we filed it. So now we're just waiting on a response for that. So once we get the response, we will share with the public. But you can't sit here and have your own separate government. We either gonna get along or we're not. But
the special board meeting, because I see you guys have been doing that for a little while now.
Yes.
Well, I'm assuming she's saying that you guys don't have a quorum. For those of you who don't know what quorum is you have to have generally it's 50+1. You have to have at least a majority of the voting delegates there at the meeting to be able to do business, to be able to vote on things. Congress has a quorum. Most legislative bodies have quorums. So I'm assuming you guys have a quorum too. So first, can you explain to us about the special meeting, the legality of it? And is she right? Are those meetings illegal? Because that's her argument.
She's definitely incorrect. So the meeting in the local term, or what she likes to try to categorize it, she calls them secret squirrel meetings at every one. And it's and I'll tell you, it's the worst kept secret that I've ever seen in my life if we're having secret squirrel meetings, because she's invited. The other 2 board members, Trustee Holmes, Trustee Stan Brown, are also invited. So all the information is shared. And at many meetings, in the most recent one, you'll see we had upwards of 100, 150 people at that meeting, along with media. Mm-hmm. So those meetings are given. The process in order to call a meeting can either be called by the call of the mayor or a call of 3 board trustees. As long as 3 trustees make an agreement on an agenda and it's posted with 48-hour notice, then that's a legal meeting. Mm-hmm. Now, interestingly enough, she mentioned we have 1 meeting a month. That's not true. The board votes for 2 meetings per month because we want to make sure that we are communicating with the residents, especially with as much chaos that's going on within Dalton. You need more communication, not less.
Yeah.
So we want the 2 meetings per month. And additionally, when the board asks for agenda items to be placed on the agenda, those are disregarded. They don't make the agenda when we submit it to her. The only item that makes it, and I believe it's because it's legally required, is an override. If we put up there to override a veto, that makes the agenda. Separate from that, we have many instances. Myself, Trustee Belcher, Trustee Norwood, Trustee Tammy Brown have asked for things to be placed on the agenda, and it doesn't go. Clerk Key routinely every month we have to have meeting minutes voted on. Wow. And they will not put the meeting minutes on the agenda if they're not to the mayor's liking. So we call this special meeting as an effort to reach out to the community, provide them an opportunity to hear what's going on. We think it's mandatory. It's required by the vote because we vote on the calendar saying that there's going to be 2 meetings. Mm-hmm. And we also vote on it. If you'll notice that those meetings are not held at our own village hall, which is the taxpayers' building. And the reason for that is the board is not given keys or access, and we can do a back and forth to fight over it, but that's not in the town's best interest for us to fight over that.
Good evening to you. The mayor locking the trustees out of Village Hall tonight, forcing them to have a meeting out in the parking lot, all of which has Dalton residents shaking their heads in disbelief.
We had a quorum, we had the clerk, and we had a board meeting outside.
Why the pushback on her part, you think?
Well, there's things on the agenda that she doesn't want us to pass.
You know, trying to snap a bad habit is like ice skating uphill. It is tough. And if that resonates with you, you're definitely not alone. But here is a breath of fresh air from our sponsor, Fume. Now, it's not about quitting, it's about transforming your bad habits into something healthier, more satisfying, and generally enjoyable. Now, I want to introduce you to Fume. Now, this is an award-winning device that delivers flavored air in a variety of irresistible flavors. Now, the first time I tried this, I was actually blown away by how rich the taste was. And the flavors that I love are the cool mint and the orange vanilla. They are fantastic. Now, this device has an interactive design complete with moving parts and magnets. And that's because it's not just about diverting your taste buds. It's also about easing the anxiety often associated with ditching negative habits. And plus, with this device, you can actually fine-tune the airflow to exactly what you like. And with Fume's newly launched magnetic stand, say goodbye to those "where did I leave it" moments. It's going to make your life easier. So let me just give you the bottom line. With Fume, you are simply inhaling pure, naturally flavored air through an award-winning product free from artificial flavors, harmful chemicals, or even the need for batteries. Now, kickstart a healthy routine by visiting tryfume.com/Nate the Lawyer. Don't forget to use the promo code Nate the Lawyer at checkout and enjoy a 10% discount off your purchase of the Journey Pack today. Remember, that's Nate the Lawyer. You won't regret it, of course.
We formed a great partnership with Dalton Park District, and I want to give credit to the park board president, as well as the other board members for that partnership. We're grateful because that allows us to have space that we otherwise should be entitled to within the Village Hall. So It's a strong arm tactic when you behind the scenes, and then when you see her on the camera and the tape, she tries to play kind of the victim role.
Oh yeah. She's great at playing the victim.
Yeah. I mean, very good. I almost felt like I was watching the interview with R. Kelly and Gail.
Oh yes, yeah. I did. I got those vibes too.
I've been doing this, but okay, I'll stop. But that was the feel that I got from watching it.
Well, just this is my own personal interest. Is that how many votes do you need to override the mayor's veto? Because you got 6 board members, right?
Yeah, you need 4.
So you would need essentially, what was it, 2/3 majority?
2/3 majority.
So, but all right, so because you guys are in a unique number situation where if you get the 4 board members to approve, so any actually majority of the board is a 2/3 majority.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which also makes the veto such a waste of time in the promotion of the argument, because we'll go in, we make our points, we vote it. It's argued during that period of time, and the residents and the community and everybody has to sit there and suffer through that with us. Mm-hmm. Then the next meeting, you come and there's a veto, knowing that there's enough votes already to overturn the veto, but there's a veto just for another public demonstration of anger and frustration. Just to come to the third meeting and override it and hear more of the same. It's really draining on the board. It's draining on the community. And is where if there is an acceptance of democracy, then that's where we really are falling short, is that the mayor does not accept democracy.
Well, I would say maybe you guys need to like have some type of ordinance for veto-proof majority, right? If something passes with the veto, which essentially is everything, right? Then the issue's foreclosed.
Well, and you mentioned that, because I have a lot of talks with residents and others, and we talk about, well, if you pass an ordinance or whatever else, and unfortunately in Dalton, ordinances are not the solution, because we have plenty of ordinances that say something. The reality is that this mayor does not follow ordinances. The running joke around is that ordinances are suggestions in Dalton. You cannot follow. There are plenty of things that we have on the books. The mayors should not hire or fire anybody without the advice and consent of the board. Meaning the mayor is totally, by state statute and everything, entitled to do that, to initiate a hiring or a termination. But then it needs to go to the board for confirmation. Mm-hmm. That's being trampled on right now. Wow. Trampled left and right, because an ordinance is a suggestion. So,
but then who enforces your ordinances then?
And that's where we end up in court with many cases that get that pinned for multiple years. We make the request. That's why the request for the formal request for investigation is out there, because we've made many asks, and I'm sure, well, it's been reported that there are already investigations going. Yep. As a board member, the board welcomes any investigations. We feel that we've been open and transparent, but we are seeking that level of intervention because ordinances are being trampled on.
So I remember there was a board meeting in which she said the FBI was on you. And
sick of it. Trustee House, you've been picked up by the feds, right? The FBI got you at the U.S. Bank building, right? They came and seized your computer and everything, right? But you won't tell the people that. Y'all don't tell the people nothing, but yet y'all point the finger. Don't get me started.
And they had raided your house and took your computer and tell the truth. What's up with that? Did that happen? Are you under FBI surveillance?
No, and I thank you for that opportunity to talk about this and everything else. No, that never happened. I was never picked up. My computer was never taken. I'll tell you what the offbeat, or what she's trying to allude to on that matter is that many years ago I took a job working for a gentleman that was my mentor and my friend, because I've been in the finance industry for many years now, for virtually my entire career. And then ultimately the gentleman ended up having an investigation performed where there was a search warrant served on his home as well as his business, and it's trying to connect me to that person. And I say that at this moment that he's been deceased for 4 years. So that she's trying to draw some kind of connection that really doesn't exist. It's untruthful. I was never picked up. I was never taken anywhere. And that's why I reminded the residents at the last meeting, there's only one person on the board that has a mugshot.
That's cold.
Yeah, well,
Let's talk about the Tiffany Cares charity and that madness. Now, first thing is that she's going to talk about the Tiffany Cares charity and whether or not, whether she's involved with it, which most people probably have already seen her answer. But first thing, I remember the reporters, I'm not sure if it was Fox or the other one, or WGN, but they were saying that both Dalton and Thornton Township allocated money toward Tiffany Cares charity. So I know you're not really involved in Thornton, but is that true? Did you guys at Dalton allocate money toward this charity?
No. What ended up happening, so Dalton never voted to approve any money to go to it. Thornton Township Board did vote to issue a $10,000 check. And I think that was great reporting by Dane Flacco as well, because in addition to that, what happened is on that entire trip going down to Springfield, the Thornton Township credit card was used to charge additional hotels that were above and beyond the $10,000 already contributed.
Yeah, so
meals above and beyond and Dalton credit cards were used for those same purposes. $1,000 electronic bicycles that they were riding on. All of that was charged to both the township and Dalton, not because the board knew about it and voted on it. It was charged just because they can.
She's going to now talk about this thing, and listen to what she says. This is I don't know. This is just crazy.
You have a charity that from the Attorney General's office I understand they sent a cease and desist letter to your foundation.
I don't know nothing about that. I'm not crazy. I'm not
You have
deranged.
Tiffany Henyard Cares, your foundation. So the Attorney General's office hasn't reached out to you regarding your foundation?
So I want to set the record straight. I don't have a foundation. I am a supporter of anybody that's struggling with cancer. My mom had breast cancer, and I'm always push anybody that has that. If someone uses my name to push their charity, or if you say this is Tiffany t-shirt, people gonna buy it. Because right now I'm considered what? Clickbait. People make money off of my name by views. So you just say my name.
You say you don't have a foundation.
I do not. And that's why I tell everybody, go do your research. I'm not on anything.
So again, this charity and the Illinois Attorney General's office. This is from CBS affiliate there. Says that the accusation comes at the same time the Illinois Attorney General's office told Henyard's charity multiple times in recent months to stop improperly soliciting donations because it had not registered with the state as required by law. And you say that's not your charity.
Correct.
Okay. So were you ever? So show the video here. 'Cause I'm trying to understand this here. So this is a video of you marching with the charity. So what is this?
So what they're not telling you is we literally walked to Springfield to create a bill to help anybody that suffered from cancer, whether it's the village of Dalton, Thornton Township, and then I increased it to the state of Illinois. And that bill will help people by giving them $10,000. And that's a bill that we actually are initiating, and we're still working on it. When I went through the Republican states, the Republican areas, we didn't have any issue. Everybody was on board because everybody is suffering from cancer or know someone that passed or is actually going through it. So that was the whole purpose of the walk, to basically bring awareness and bring people together That's what the whole purpose of it is.
But if you had, so there were folks with signs saying Tiffany Henyard Cares Foundation. Who was that?
What do you mean? It's everybody. Everybody was there.
No. What I'm saying is, what is the Tiffany Henyard Cares Foundation? You said it's not affiliated with you at all.
Correct.
Well, what is it?
So someone made up a foundation. They named it after me, and they like my work that I do in the community, and it's called Tiffany Henyard Cares.
The Tiffany Henyard Cares Foundation. Now, Roland has now come back and found the clip of her actually talking about the Tiffany Cares Foundation, saying that she started the foundation and she do it. You guys see that clip right now.
I'm really, really big on, that's dear to my heart, is I'm real big on a cancer foundation. I have created Tiffany Henyard Cares Foundation, and what that entails is helping everybody.
So now, this Tiffany, why would she just straight up lie? Because isn't the person on the the administrator, the town's administrator? Yes. He's the person who's running the charity, right? And like a couple of employees are part of the charity. So why would she just blatantly lie and say she has nothing to do with this charity? Like what's the end game with that?
I believe, and I can only speculate on this one, but I believe the end game is to try to distance herself, and ultimately is throwing other individuals under the bus.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that if you think about it, the Attorney General is coming saying, don't solicit donations. We can take further action. Clearly something's been done inappropriately. You also are on record taking $10,000 directly from another government body. It's a very gray area. And so, I mean, there's some people that probably should, the responsible reaction would have been to stand up for it, say, this is what we've done and this is how we're going to correct it. But in typical fashion, and this is what we've seen for multiple years, there's no accountability. And
no, she's outright lying. She's outright lying. She's outright lying to him. And he's sitting there, oh yeah. And he was trying to push me to be, he's trying to push back, but he's got to say, come on, you're full of crap here. You said like he should have had all those receipts. Right?
Yes, I think it was at that. I think that part of it was where maybe his eyebrows, and again, I can only speculate where the eyebrows were raised, because he asked about it early on, and I think he got the answer that didn't. He said, "Wait a minute, your name's on it. You're doing something doesn't sound right." He went to break, and then you come back and say, "Wait, let me come back to this." But imagine, and that's really the thing with her being, if somebody that will lie directly in your face that way, because he even pulled up a video. He said, "Wait, this video, that's you, that's you on this video." And then there was again another deflection. Oh, well, let me tell you what we did, right? She even acknowledging that. Let me tell you what we did and what they're not talking about. So that admits the inclusiveness. But then he comes back to the question. So that's not you. No, it's not me. What's the Shaggy song? It wasn't me.
It wasn't me. On the camera, it wasn't me, right? Watching in the streets, it wasn't me. It wasn't. It's like, that's you. What are you talking about? Of course, that's you.
Yes.
Oh my God. Now, I think this part of the interview, she goes into, I call it the super lies, because now it's just lie after lie after lie. Like obviously, the Tiffany Cares thing is a lie. People, I'm confident in saying that. Then it's about the whole Rihanna song, "B Better Have My Money," and dressing it as Nino Brown. Now, I got to get your take on her excuse, or not her excuse, what the true reason for that was, or what she was trying to do.
Let's talk about a meeting. Your critics say you came dressed up as Nino Brown playing "Bitch Better Have My Money." Did that happen?
Oh, wow. Okay.
Now, I'm stopping it right here because we're going to actually play the clip so you can see it for yourself. No doubt about it, right? No doubt. Before I ask Jason about this, there's no doubt about it. This happened.
Yes.
Listen to what she says.
So let me clear that up so we can understand. I did not come as Nino Brown. I did a scene for Martin. One thing I am, I'm young, so I try to make sure I reach my young voters.
You did a scene for Martin where? Was it at Dalton or Thornton Township?
This is Dalton.
So she's doing a scene for Martin, and I'm just going to say it. Martin is back in the 90s.
Yes.
We're talking about what? 30 years ago? And she's doing it for the youth? What is he talking about? That's in our time. We're fans of Martin. Nobody now knows that show.
Absolutely. They definitely know the New Jack City scene more than that. But I'll tell you what was another interesting point in there that may have gone overlooked. She indicated that she was doing it because some votes disappeared, however that happens. The reality is, at that time, the votes were still being tallied. We had the vote registers that indicated that, because she was endorsing 3 different candidates. 2 of them came through successful. One of them, we all knew that the results were going to be Trustee Tammy Brown. But at that meeting, she was adamant that her 3rd candidate was successful. At that same meeting, she even brought that candidate forward and say, "Meet your new trustee." And I think it was terrible because that other candidate was young woman, 28 years old. I mean, excited. You think you win, and she's pumping her up like she's won. So the level of deflation that would come when the actual totals came in is horrible.
Crazy,
so now you bring somebody in front of this entire community, pumping them up, saying this is it, and it's all false. And she did that as an attempt at kind of intimidating the board to, you guys now need to do what I'm telling you to do. You better have my money. So, that entire meeting. So she said that she was saying what happened to the votes at that time, and that very same meeting, she's promoting her 3rd candidate as if they won.
And just imagine this, is that for her to deny, she doesn't even talk about the whole "Be Better Have My Money" song. If you notice, she just
Absolutely.
that totally didn't exist. But even the whole Martin thing, going back to the Martin thing, her excuses. See, Martin was actually reenacting the New Jack City scene. So just so everybody understands, New Jack City happens. Martin, which is a comedic show, then reenacts the scene. She now says she's reenacting the Martin scene, which is reenacting the New Jack City scene. So in both instances, she is dressed up as Nino Brown. Martin was dressed up as Nino Brown. She's dressed up as Martin, dressed up as Nino Brown. So it doesn't make any sense. But I think now that she sees people are taking it poorly, let me just pretend that there's no, like I wasn't really doing what I was really doing. And
Absolutely.
She seems to do that a lot, especially with things that are just so obvious. Like the charity thing is obvious. And like one thing she mentioned in that interview too is that all those billboards that are up, I didn't know the phone numbers didn't work on those billboards. Did you realize that?
I heard. I know. I got calls from many residents that attempted to call in for assistance and help, and they would say, "I can't reach anybody." Now they didn't say that it was disconnected. They would say, "I can't reach anybody," which is kind of typical of her administration because they just, as you see, they don't call back when vendors ask for their checks for bills and everything. So I did hear that.
Well, here's her saying it just real quick.
At my supervisor position, because that's what we put the billboards up. It's talking about service. Talking about
they cut our phone lines. Who's that?
They cut our phone lines. It was the college, South Suburban College.
Okay.
And they went ahead and service in over 30 years, never been cut. But the minute I put up a billboard, the line get cut. So now when people call the phone number, how do you get services? So now you get people complaining, saying the number don't work, you got all these issues, things like that. But these are the things I'm dealing with that people don't know, the public don't see.
And I'm actually curious on that, because that was a township kind of service. So the Dalton board would have nothing to do with that or trying to cut it. The township virtually votes for everything that she wants.
Yeah.
But another interesting part of that too is if the intention was to promote township services, her picture was there and her name was on all of those billboards, much larger than anything else.
Oh, yeah.
If you want to promote it, then you could put Thornton Township offers this service, put the phone number up there, if that was the true intention.
Yeah.
But we know it wasn't. So
Thornton Township was even spelled wrong on some of the billboards, right? Thornton Township is spelled wrong. Now we know the phone number doesn't work. So it's the only thing that billboard does is say Tiffany Henyard, supervisor, and that's a promotion of her. None of the other information on there is even close.
Even accurate. Yeah. And
so,
I'm curious who she faults for that phone number not being active. Because
she just said the college, some college. She said
oh
some
my
college.
God. Okay, yeah.
So again, it's always, and that's one thing that people should realize too. When someone doesn't take any, no responsibility for anything, it's always someone else's fault. That's when you know you have a problem. And I think that's one thing with this is that the phone numbers doesn't work. That's somebody else's problem. This is somebody else's fault. Somebody else's fault. The charity, somebody else's charity, right? Even though it has my name and I've been giving them money, somebody else's. It's always somebody else's fault. We have 2 more clips. One, she talks about the travel. I want you to hear what she says about the travel because I think this is interesting because I think it goes into the way she thinks about this.
He's in your city as it relates to travel, as it relates to flying first class, what types of hotels to stay in to minimize expenses for the city.
Well, we have a budget. So as long as it's in the budget, you can basically go to any conference. Any conference you choose.
No, I understand the budget, but so for instance, I've covered City Hall, covered county government, where they establish, where they say, like for instance, City of New Orleans has a policy that city officials don't fly first class.
Okay.
Do you have that?
We do not.
Do you believe you should have a policy? Because again, the critics are that you're flying first class, that you're staying in four-season hotels, high-dollar hotels, having what they call extravagant dinners, and those are your critics. Are you as a city official, in order to make sure that you'll be on reproach, looking at establishing a city policy in terms of how money is spent when traveling?
This is the way I feel about it. People will talk about anybody because they're not doing the work. They only talk about the people that's at the top, the ones that are doing the work. They telling you about travel. I'm in your studio right now talking about travel. What we should be talking about is the $15 million I bought back to my community.
No, I understand that.
No, I know, but I'm pointing it out. But we are.
This is what's called classic deflection, right? We're talking about travel. Like we were talking about belief. We're talking about all these other different things. We just talked about your charity. Of course we're going to talk about the travel. It's part of the conversation.
It reminded me of the Allen Iverson where he said, we're talking about practice.
Practice.
We're talking about, how silly is that? But on the serious side, and Mr. Martin referenced that her critics were saying that. I would like to substitute that word and say your residents are telling you that. Because in the big picture, we're missing that. We serve. All of us are responsible to somebody else. So it's one thing for critics to say it and people to maybe kind of point out it's a totally different thing when the residents are showing up and saying we have a problem with that. And for as much as I may feel, as strongly as I may feel on one point or another, if the residents come to me and tell me we have an issue with how you travel, how you carry yourself, how you do this, and as long as I'm a servant, it's my duty to hear them and try to find either a happy middle ground or to acquiesce, because that's who I represent. And here you see the question came and he said, critics are saying this, whatever. And she just, it almost seemed like he had to impose upon her what the policy would be. And I can almost guarantee you that policy is not going to be put up to the board for a vote.
Yeah, because I think that's what she deflected the answer, because I don't think she wants to continue to deflect. First, because don't forget, we're talking about first class accommodations, first class hotels, and first class security, right? Because she got our security detail coming with us. So.
And then remember what I mentioned. In Dalton, ordinances are suggestions. She may even go as far as putting it up there, knowing that she's not going to follow it anyway.
Now, there are travel expenses that you guys haven't paid for, right? Because obviously, as you said earlier, she didn't give you receipts. That must be very contentious, because what happens, that money has been spent. So what happens there with that?
And in many cases, it's been with the credit card, once you swipe that card, that money is actually gone.
Yeah.
So our vote is a matter of documentation showing that as a board we don't approve. But the airlines have been paid, the hotels have been paid, the restaurants have been paid, and it came at the taxpayers' expense.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Well, let's listen to how she ends this.
Over travel.
No. But the reality is, this is a conversation that members of Congress have to deal with. That mayors, city council members, county commissioners.
Yeah.
As I said, I've covered Fort Worth City Council, Travis County Commissioners Court. Have covered City Council in Dallas, and this is one of the things that people often look to. They look at in terms of public officials, being proper use of taxpayer dollars. And one of the areas this happened with Kwame Kilpatrick. When he was mayor of Detroit, he was highly criticized for the use of the city's credit card and how he was traveling. And so what I'm saying is, if you have those critics, we're not talking about a large city. We're not talking about a massive budget. And so do you believe it's proper to have a city standard that applies to you and all trustees and city employees that says, sure, you can fly, but you fly economy, not first class. And then if you stay in hotels, you don't necessarily stay in Four Seasons or a hotel like that. There are Hyatt, Marriott, or whatever. And so because of the criticism, do you believe in creating that type of travel policy?
I sure do.
And will you do that?
Yes.
Okay.
So you got it right there on screen, right? She's going to create that. The next board meeting, you got to have this video ready. Say, I have a motion. And you call it the Tiffany Hinyard travel policy.
Yes, and as I mentioned, I don't believe it's forthcoming. But even if it does actually come to It's presented. It's all just for show. At the end of the day, she won't follow it. She'll do exactly as she sees fit.
Yeah, I think she just was saying that just to get out of the Roland Martin.
Absolutely.
Just to get out of that space, because she knows she's not going to do that. Oh yeah, I'm definitely going to do exactly that. But again,
she didn't even say, "Oh, that makes sense."
yeah. Oh yeah. That of course it makes sense to regular people, but I think to Tiffany it doesn't make sense. And this last clip is about the financial documents. Listen to what she says here, because I want to hear your response to this. Check this out.
When it comes to documents, they say that you won't turn documents over. When it comes to your city's budget, how is that handled? Is there a city treasurer? Is there a city auditor? Normal operation in the city, there are people who handle those different things. And so when you're a trustee, they can make those requests and those documents are produced. How does it work in Dolton?
Exactly what you just said. Every document we produce, every statement we give them. They sued us. That's another lawsuit they sued us for. And guess what? We won. Because that's why I'm trying to explain to everybody. They just saying stuff. There's no facts to it. We go to court. We prove to the courts that we're doing our job, which is providing them with documentation. Once we give the documentation, guess what? We win our lawsuit. And we've been giving it to them through email. It's in everybody's email. I've showed that in videos. I've showed that at board meetings. And I've showed people that, hey, they said they get it every single month. All the documents.
But for the people who don't know, explain the process though.
Okay.
You got mayor, you got trustees.
Correct.
Who are the city employees who that's their job? So do you have a city treasurer?
We have a finance director. We have a CPA, which is our accountants. Yes, and we have auditors. We have all of them.
So the finance director should have the financial records for all transactions with the city.
Yes, and she gave them to them. That's my point. Through email. And we showed that. We proved it in court. Once again, we won in court. We won. They said that, but then we showed y'all that they was lying by producing an email showing we gave them every document they needed. But they go and they put on this show for the world and then want to sit here and criticize people by saying she's doing wrong. I'm not doing wrong. I'm proving it every single time I win a court case. Again, 25-0. They ain't won not one court case. But they keep saying, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. That's not true.
There's a lot. I know there's a lot to unpack with that one clip. So let me just run it down again. She said, I've given you everything. I've sent it to you via email. So she says that's a receipt she's got. So
there's a video.
Receipt, and there's a video. And on top of that, she's won the lawsuit in which you guys are asking for documents. She's won it 25-0. So there's a lot to unpack there because it seems like all those statements are false. Let me know what's going on.
No, all those statements are false. And I alluded to it earlier. The court case that she's saying that she won actually is coming back up for status on March 11th. So that case, that the victory she claimed is not true. Separate from that, in that same case where we referenced all the things, her defense to the case is that we're not entitled to the level of information that we're requesting. That's her legal defense. We got it documented from her attorneys, and I'll share that as well.
So she's saying that you got everything, but she's in court saying, we don't want to give you nothing.
That's right. That's exactly right. And I mean, because I would think if she felt like they gave it, that would also be her defense.
Yeah, I gave it to them already.
That's not at all in there. So it's the 24-0. There's not been 24 lawsuits. There's not been 24 judgments. As the board, we at a certain point, because when we started with the first 4 cases, after that there were many things that we said, you know what, is this an issue big enough for us to keep on going back in court and incurring court costs? Because we can be in court over, as you see, there was 17 different lives. That could have been 17 different court cases, but we don't deem it to be in the best interest of our community that we continue to go into court and fight it. If there's something that rises to an urgent level of significance, then we will, and we have the obligation to. But separate from that, we still try to be mindful, and it's a really, really delicate balancing match that we have to do of which issues do we press, which ones do we just accept. You see it. I mean, I almost watching that interview, I felt like I was sitting in one of the board meetings. you listen to it and it's like, oh, she said, oh my God, we got to listen to that too. I think it's encouraging that as we go to just different media outlets that previously the question for the board would always be, well, can't you work with her? How do you do that? And as much, I keep saying we would actually love to, because nobody wants to go on these meetings and do it.
Of course not.
But it's encouraging now that the story is kind of shifted into where when those statements are made, most people recognize it almost virtually before it comes out. I was really hoping that she would have been pressed a little bit harder, because I really did want to see one moment where she did. That would have absolutely made my day, but we didn't get to that point. However, we're grateful that people recognize a lot of the inconsistencies. We will continue to provide the documentation from the Board of Trustees perspective, and we'll always provide platforms with, we have monthly tea with the trustees for our residents to come out, or anybody that wants to, and ask us questions on why we did what we did, how we're doing it. We'll continue to post information, and we want to also promote a lot of the positive things, because the story is so salacious sometimes. It's easy to get sucked into what happened and what she did and everything else. What we don't talk about is the many things that the board has approved that we're trying to get moved forward, because and many of the things that even she tries to take credit for. If we were to do a kind of statistics on what the board has approved, at least 80% of the items that have been pushed forward.
Wow.
But that 20% is so loud, and responsible mayors don't put the board and the community in that position where you just keep trying to force feed something that they've already told you they don't want. You pull it off the agenda, you talk about it behind closed doors, and once it's resolved, then you come back into the meeting so you can have an orderly meeting. This mayor doesn't want to do that. She put up a referendum trying to increase property taxes for the entire township on the last election. The community voted that down. Guess what she did? Coming up in March of this year, same referendum questions on this agenda, trying to force the residents to accept the tax increase, because the same thing that's happening in Dalton, where she's blowing through the money, she's doing the same thing to the residents of Thornton Township.
We've been at this for almost an hour and a half, and I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I want to ask you, there's two questions I want to ask. The first one is, how do you think this is going to end? Because right now you got investigations from the AG's office, you got investigations from the FBI, you got all this stuff coming down the pipe, and you guys had your resolution to ask for investigation based on the transparency issues. So where does this end? Because it seems like we're going into another election cycle soon, right? Do you guys have a viable candidate to challenge Tiffany Henyard? Or is it kind of going to be? Are you guys kind of in a holding pattern, a wait and see type thing? Like what's the plan for the future? Because it can't go on like this. This is going to destroy the village.
No, it absolutely can't go on this way. And I would like to, again, and I do always compliment my colleagues on the board. But I also have to give tremendous compliments to the residents and the residents of Thornton Township and Dalton that really are taking a stand. So because it looks like chaos, and it is chaos, but I would say that if your town is being bankrupted, there should be chaos erupting. The people should be standing out. So what we're seeing in the ugliest fashion possible is democracy in action. So I have to really applaud. We have Sherry Britton Hatcher, Mary Avant, Dan Lee. I can go on and on the people that show up, and then we see at that last meeting we had well over 100 residents that are interested in paying attention. So I think that speaks to what the community wants, what the community really represents, and in the direction that we're going. So unfortunately, if there's not a turn or a recognition from the mayor's office on what the community wants, then it will go to the next election. And we're, as the board, we're talking about it. I'm giving strong consideration, and I think some of the attacks on me is because she knows that I'm the likely next person to run in opposition. So of course we're going to sit there and try to take attacks at myself, Trustee Belcher, because we will. The election season starts for the mayor. Petitions will go out late August, early September. Around that time, formal announcements will be made. But as a board, we continue to work hard. We work collectively together. We talk about plans that we can do. A little bit over 10 years ago, there was a comprehensive plan that the village of Dalton did, and it was inclusive of the business community, residents of Dalton, and all stakeholders. We want to dust that off the shelf, look at what parts of it are relevant, what parts are not, and then really do a SWOT analysis, our strengths, our opportunities, weaknesses, and threats, and do this. As a board, we form strong relationships, we feel, with the state legislators, state senators, the state reps. We form strong relationships with the county commissioners and other bodies that we feel can really pour and work collectively with our community. And we've done that as a board because we see the vision forward. and how we can make it out of it. But we just have to endure and do our best during this time.
Now, my last question is that I know Monday you're going right back into the fires because you got the what's it, first Monday? And listen, people, I've never been so interested in local politics. My own local politics. I couldn't name anybody, but I can name them all in Dalton. Monday, you're coming up with your next board meeting, which I'm expecting is going to be fireworks because of all these different various interviews. The issue going forward seems to be transparency because right now, from what I'm looking at, the board doesn't know what's in the bank accounts, right? It could be a zero, it could be $20 million. You guys essentially don't know. But you guys are being asked to pay bills without the knowledge of how much money is actually in the account. And I think that seems to be the issue. Is there any way, and that's why you guys are in court. So I just don't understand. Let me see. I'm trying to fix my thoughts because it just doesn't make any sense for her to say the money's there. Then you don't know, but then it's like, all right, so show me what the money is. Then I'm not going to show it to you. You don't deserve to have it, but I want you to pay bills, even though you don't see. Like it's just that type of thing. So Monday's board meeting, what is the plan? Because it seems like she's going in there with the plan to again say that you guys are the ones who are not paying the bills. You're of the meeting and there's no investigation. What's the plan for this Monday? Are you guys going to go and again ask for transparency? We need to see this stuff because I remember the last time you guys were getting stuff was the Tahoe incident, actually being Tahoe Tiffany, where it was like, hey, you're spending all this money for the Tahoe. So what's the plan moving forward? Because obviously I don't think there's no way that you guys can operate without having this essentially basic information.
Well, I think you summarized the challenges that the board has extremely well. We're going to make you an honorary Dalton trustee for this meeting that we have right now because you really, really encapsulated what our challenges are once we get the agenda, we get the list. Ultimately, we get the list and absent or with limited information, I'll say, we have to look it over. And there are some things on there that are just obvious that we need to approve. And I don't want to say with or without knowledge, because we always want to know what's in the bank account. Yeah. But getting the knowledge arms us to ask better questions in the meeting to figure out what the plan forward is. Absent that information of what's in the bank account, we have to look at it and say, our Blue Cross Blue Shield, our health insurance, of course we need
to get paid. Yeah, that's got to be paid.
If we got our lights, of course we need to pay for that. The police vehicles, of course we need to pay for that. We're gonna make those decisions because it's logical. Now, if we were to get that same list and realize that we did not have the amount of money in the bank, our question would say, yes, we want to approve this. Give me the plan on how we're going to pay it. We would still approve it, but it would be much. Yeah, we would, but it would say, okay, has anybody contacted these vendors to create a payment arrangement? But so the questions change. The approval remains the same for us, whether on necessary items, because we know the community needs it and it's our job to figure it out. But once we know if we're in a transparent place of where we're at, then we can start to say, well, we don't have the money in the bank. Now we need to look down the road to say what things can we remove, or what money is coming in that we can expect. If there really is $6 million coming down the pipeline, when is it coming? So that way we can plan our bills accordingly. And that's the place that we've gotten into. However, the presentation of it and the misleading of, okay, we have the money, and she did it on the show. The money's in the bank. We're going to cut the check. But no, after we approve it, we get calls from vendors indicating that they haven't been paid. And it really is just a poor reflection. But as board members, we feel that we've always voted for the responsible bills. We voted for the right things for the community. We'll continue to do that. We have to make those assessments, and our assessments are even more difficult with the limited information that we get.
Yeah, because so I know you have, because I know some of the invoices for the lights, for the police, for fixing the police cars and those invoices are things that you guys have already said should be paid. Yes. And that haven't been paid, and like even with the police cars. So it seems like it's also gotten to a point where even if you guys say pay this,
yes, you
still on the back end don't even know if it's paid or not, and then
absolutely
she'll say that you guys didn't approve to be paid. So it's just a wild mess. But
absolutely,
I will say this: I would definitely, please, I'll invite you back on during, especially whenever to speak about this issue. Like I said, I've been covering this from the beginning, and I thought it was too insane to be real. I'm just going to be honest with you. I said this can't be real, but it's real. And the fact of the matter is, I always say, I'm saying Tiffany Henyard is doing one unique thing. She's uniting everybody, because my left-wing lunatics are all saying the same thing, and the right-wing lunatics are saying the same thing. And it's all, this woman is insane. So she's got something going for her. No one else can do that.
No, and I think, and that's in the balance, and you kind of go through it. But we always want to remember that in the process, this is a real community of people
Yes.
that's trusting in her and myself and the board members as well. So there are some moments that we can kind of poke, and of course you have to laugh at some of the outlandish ways that things are going. But I don't want to take sight off of the fact that we have 20,000 residents counting on service from the police department. We got businesses that have employees that need to be fed and be taken care of, and those people aren't being harmed in the background.
Yes,
so I make my and I say this, I make my plea today as I do any other time. I would hope that we don't have to wait until the election to try to find ways to fix this. But as a board member, myself and my other colleagues on the board, we do take this serious. We are very passionate, and that's the reason that we stand up and we take the stances that we do, and we try to be fair, but we're going to continue to advocate. And if we could do this in a peaceful manner and without getting the back and forth and the lashings that we do, we would take that route. Unfortunately, when we see an administration doing all the wrong things and they refuse to work with the board, we have no choice, and I'm saying absolutely no choice, but to let the community and the world know what's going on.
Well, I will say this. Hopefully God will bless you and let this thing eventually run its course. And, sometimes when you're in it, it's a different feel than if you're not, because for us, and just to be clear, for most of the people watching, because I think I had the video, it's almost at 1 million views now, it's entertainment. But I think sometimes you forget there are real people behind this story. Those residents, they don't deserve this. They voted for people to serve them in this, and the mayor said, hey, I want to serve in this capacity. And this thing being mismanaged the way it is a travesty. And hopefully, I think sometimes you kind of have to step back and say, how can I fix this problem now? Because it's bigger than just you and just this mayor. It's 20,000 people that have to deal with this. And then Thornton Township is a whole nother ball of wax.
Absolutely.
So, but with that said, thank you so much for coming on. And, I wish you all the best. And I'm still going to continue to make videos about this woman because I still think the story is insane. And I know, everybody, my fans are like, you got to make it. She does, like, every time this woman sneezes, I get emails. She sneezed, and just video time. I'm like, I'm not covering that.
Yes.
But I do want to cover the high points. And I just will say, to you guys who are on the board, I know it must be tough being there every day because you guys live there. So I know that also must be a tough situation to go through too. But with that said, this too shall pass, and hopefully, with God's grace, you guys can get past this, and this will be, and I know you're a pastor in the church, right? You're
No, I'm just a minute, an active member.
I'm an active member of the church. All right. I thought somebody said you were a pastor, but I think it's because of the way you speak, because you speak with that gospel type.
I appreciate. I will gratefully say thank you for that. For that, yes, no, just somebody trying to work to be a servant.
Well, amen to that. Well, listen, again, thank you so much for coming on. And for those of you who want, if anybody wants to reach out to you or to see what's happening in Dalton, there's a link in the description to the Dalton Trustees website. YouTube page, so you guys can see all the shenanigans that happen in Dalton and keep up with the story. And again, I'll be continuing to follow the story. Thank you to my friend Jason House, who is the senior trustee, right? Because I see the senior trustee in Dalton. And, we wish you well in your fight to get at least some transparency and some simple yet needed management of these village finances. With that said, don't forget, like, share, subscribe, do all that great YouTube stuff. My name is Ate the Lawyer, and I'll see you in the next one.
Thank you.
Peace.